Hello, and welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam, and I'm a real person, and today I want to talk to you about Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins for the Game Boy. But up front, I just want to say that if you'd like to see a written review before, after, or instead of this video one, then you can go ahead and go to www.thegravelpit.net or click on the link in the description and they'll take you right to my written review. And I think that's everything, so let's just kind of get on into this one, shall we? So Super Mario Land 2 is a Mario game. It's a 2D platformer, and it's a sequel to the first Super Mario Land, which was also released on the Game Boy. And I think some kind of similarities here is that, much like in how the first Super Mario Land was very akin to the first Super Mario Bros. On the NES, I feel like Super Mario Land 2 is very similar to Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. What with the overworlds that you can go across and go to levels and revisit them if you'd like, and the larger, more detailed sprites of Mario and other characters, enemies, and what have you. A lot of that feels very much like a Super Mario World type of thing, so I think there's a few similarities to be had there. Plus the spin jump is in here, which allows you to break blocks, and that's also from Super Mario World, so that's kind of there. And just like in most Mario games, in the first one you can run around, and you can jump, you can duck, and you jump on enemies to kill them, and you're basically trying to get through these levels in order to fight all of these bosses. And I guess just to start back at the plot for a second, though. See, the reason you're doing all this stuff, running around and collecting coins, getting these power-ups, which there is a new power-up, which is a carrot, which allows you to, you can hold the button down, and you can do some bounces with your jumps, or you can hold it when you're in midair, and then let you gently float down, which is good for making precise drops and for clearing longer distances. So it's an interesting little power-up. And of course the fire flower is there too. But the overall plot is that Wario has taken over Mario's castle in his absence. I didn't know Mario had a castle, but he did, and Wario kind of took it over. In order to open up the door, you basically need to unlock it by inserting these 6 golden coins, hence the title. And to do that, you have to go to these 6 themed zones and go through the levels in order to get to the boss. Defeat the boss, and once you defeat each boss, you'll get a coin for each of the 6 bosses you defeat. So it's kind of interesting in that regard as well. And that's basically the plot, is just trying to get your castle back. So it's sort of a more personal quest, I guess. And, birds are going by. That's going to be lovely for the audio. And like I said, you go through these levels, and the general kind of Mario gameplay, jumping on Goombas and Koopas and such. There are a few strange enemies thrown into here as well that are unique to their zone, such as ants in the tree zone, or ghosts in the... I forgot the name of the zone. The Pumpkin Zone. That's what it is. So it's kind of neat to have these different themed zones and have enemies themed towards those zones as well. And what's also kind of interesting is that, unlike something like Super Mario World, is that although there is an overworld you can go through, and though you do have to go through each zone in a rather linear order most of the time, you can pick whichever zone you want to tackle first. I mean, you can tackle these zones in any order. You can go in and do some levels in one zone and leave and do some levels in another. Whatever, it's up to you. And that's an interesting little twist. Some of them have some branching paths and hidden exits to some secret levels that, if you're very clever and you have the proper power-ups, you are finding these shortcuts, or these secret passageways, you can find some other cool extra levels, and that's always fun, just to have more game to play. And of course, this game auto saves for you, so you can pick this up and play it some, put it down, and then do it again. You don't even really have to do this all in one sitting, I guess is the point. And that was something that was kind of cool for the Game Boy, because, well, like the first one, there were less levels because it was meant to be played in a sitting. And while you probably could beat Super Mario Land 2 in a sitting, It's one where it didn't feel like you had to. You didn't have to learn everything and get it all perfect your first time through. So that's pretty neat. And there's a lot of stuff to find there. A couple interesting things also is that there's a counter for your coins and for the number of enemies you defeat. Getting coins doesn't really get you 1-ups in this game. There are 1-ups scattered throughout there. And you can get 1-ups by completing these levels by hitting this bell that's higher up, similar to the concept of the first Super Mario Land, where you try to get to the higher door when you exit. But there's usually a bell hanging up above the main exit door, which means that there's usually not one when you find a secret exit, of course. But if you ring that bell, then you'll be bringing into a minigame, and I believe there are only 2 minigames there. One is a crane game where the crane goes back and forth while hovering over these items, scrolling by on a conveyor belt, and you can get power-ups or extra lives from that. And another one with these wires, like I don't know if they're like supposed to be like dynamite, and these mice going around, randomly moving around, kind of like biting the wires or whatever. And like whenever you hit the button to stop it, then everything stops and it goes in a path that connects the lines. Runs up through the lines linearly, so as any turns in it, it'll take the turns and it'll keep going up until it hits the power-up on the top. It's hard to explain, but hopefully one of those will show up in the footage, I guess. We'll see. Either way, they're just little mini-games you get to give you some extra power-ups, and that's kind of nice. Or extra lives. But you can use these coins in this one slot machine area. And depending on how much you put in, there are different rewards from these different slot machines. So things like, you might get some better rewards if you're putting in something like 100 coins as opposed to just putting in 30. And you can even go into one where you can put in 999 coins. And if you do that, I don't know what the top one is, but it seems like the top one there would be the reward of 99 lives if you can land on that. That would be pretty neat, wouldn't it? And for the enemies, there's a counter for the enemies, and I believe it's once you kill 100 enemies, or maybe it's 50, I didn't remember the number. I think it's 100 still. Once you do that, then a star will appear from the top of the screen and fall down, kind of similar to how you get a star in Super Mario Bros. 2 for collecting so many cherries. And you're able to use that to your advantage. So killing enemies isn't, just a waste of time, because there's no score in this game. So I guess it's a way to make it feel like you're still some kind of point if you want to take the time to actually bother to fight the enemies, rather than just being things for you to avoid. So there's lots of cool little things in here, some secrets and some just some fun stuff thrown into the Mario mix. To have some pretty familiar gameplay and have some, so just a few new twists and some interesting things to look at, to see, and to interact with, I guess. And of course, once you get all of those, then you're finally able to open up the castle, and then you have one final level to get through, and then have your showdown with Wario. So that's pretty much the game. And like I said, I liked a lot of that stuff that's in there. It's pretty cool. And the music only has like one theme basically, but it's remixed in different ways throughout the game. I don't know if that's necessarily a motif or if it is just reusing the same song and like slightly changing it. It has some kind of different term for that. I don't fucking know this shit. I don't know anything apparently, but that's the thing. And I think it looks pretty good, and it plays pretty well, and it's a fun little adventure. It's nice to have a bit more of an adventure with it as opposed to the first one, because it's good if you want to have just invest a little more time into your Mario game rather than just shooting through everything in one go. So I think it's pretty cool, especially impressive for being on a Game Boy. But it does have a few issues, I suppose, and one of those is that I guess like, it's nice that it has bigger visuals than the first one, I suppose, and it's nice to have that big detailed stuff, but I can understand if you think it feels kind of slow, because, because things are bigger, they can't have you hauling ass through there, because if you went too fast, you'd just be running into things without having a chance to even avoid them or react to them. So I feel like the speed takes a little bit of a hit in the game because of that. Also, there's not really any colorization in this. Looking at it, there really wasn't much at all. And I played this on a Game Boy Advance, and that's kind of sad, I guess, because I feel like they could have done something with that, because even the first Super Mario Land had stuff where it has color, so I don't know, maybe it was just, they wanted to push the Super Game Boy and have you make your own palette, and it just made it monochrome like that, grayscale, whatever, but it would have been nice to see a little bit of color in there, I guess. But again, it's for the Game Boy. I can't expect too much. And it was probably easier to see on the Game Boy with the larger visuals, larger sprites and such. So I can cut it a little slack there. Also, I both like and dislike that the secret levels are totally optional. It's kind of cool that they're optional, because it's like, well, I mean, if you just want to try and get all the levels and everything, it's cool to try to do that. There's no real indication of, how many there necessarily are, though, which is sort of the problem. The other thing is that, again, they don't matter. So, like, while it's nice that you don't have to play them, I guess finding them and playing them might not necessarily seem like enough of a reward in itself. It really depends on who you are. So you might find that to be a little annoying, that there's nothing to really motivate you to play those, except for the fact that you'll be playing more levels. Which means, maybe you don't why bother with the secrets either, Just depends on what kind of player you are, I guess. Also, I think it can be a little weird with the detection on some of the platforms and stuff, where sometimes it's hard to tell if you're going to land on platforms or not, or if you're technically on a platform or not, because you kind of sink into some and stand on top of others, and some of that can be a little strange. Not much. It's very, very rare that it's a problem, but it happens sometimes. It's a little weird, and it's only a little weird, so I guess not a huge thing. But like, it happens. And I was gonna say another thing, and now I totally blanked on what I was going to say. About it being, I don't know. So that's probably it, because if there's something I could just forget like that on the spot, it's probably not that big of a problem, is it? So it's not, it's not perfect. I guess another thing, I guess, that I should bring up is that, it's kind of cool that you can do it in any order that you want to, except that once you get to Wario, like, all the stuff is relatively easy until you get to Wario's castle, or your cat, whatever way you want to look at it, until you get there, and then that level is really, really hard, and it's like, I mean, it's not super hard necessarily, like, just in general, but in comparison to all the relatively easy stuff that you can do in whatever order you feel like, and you go to this, and all of a sudden this is just really hard. It doesn't feel like the game really trained you to do that stuff. And that could be a bit of an issue. And I just don't know why they had to spike up the difficulty. But it is definitely, there's no checkpoints in it either, which is kind of nuts. But it is definitely doable. It will still take some skills, and you'll probably lose most of your lives here if you lose them anywhere. So, the other one thing I just remembered it, also, with kind of going along with the control thing and how it's a little dodgy at times, is that the carrot you get to get the bunny ears power up, I guess I don't really like that power-up that much, because it can be hard to land on things. Like, you have to let go of jump and then, like, time it your jump just right, so that when you land on the head of an enemy you can fly off. And you have more margin of error, I guess, when you are just regular jumping on them. But when you do this, you have to let go so you can fall, because if you hit it too early, you're just going to do a little hover over them. And then, if you hit it too late, you'll get a very short hop off of their head, and then all of a sudden you'll start making yourself hover again by hitting the button, and then you'll just be hovering at a lower altitude and just lose all that altitude you were trying to gain from that. So it can be kind of a frustrating thing to work with. Also, you can hold after you hit the ground again after floating down, and if you're still holding the jump button, you'll continually pogo around, doing these hops like a bunny. I don't know when that's going to come in handy either. I don't know any parts where that really did come in handy, so it is some of the stuff seemed a little strange, and I guess maybe could have used a little cleaning up, but maybe that's just me. Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. It's a pretty fun game. I would definitely recommend this for Mario fans and people who have a Game Boy or Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, whatever. You can play it. It's one of those where I guess I probably would put it in the must-have category. Again, another one of those $20 or less games. Maybe even a little bit more. It's a bit more of an adventure. It's gonna, do more for you. I think it's gonna offer more levels and variety and more atmosphere. And it's gonna just, it's gonna take more time to play it. And while it isn't perfect, I think it's a pretty good translation. Especially if you like Super Mario World, it's a pretty good handheld type of translation for that at the time. So, definitely check it out if you haven't. It's pretty fun, and I can't imagine this isn't on the eShops either. So check those out if you have like a 3DS or a Wii U. It's quite possibly there also. So that's the game, and I don't know. Which one did you like better, Super Mario Land or Super Mario Land 2? And I'm kind of torn because I feel like they do different things. I really don't. It's hard for me to say. I kind of want to. If anything, I'm leaning towards this, but I couldn't say definitively right in this moment when I made up the question. But leave that in the comments, and whatever else you want to leave in the comments, go ahead and put them in. And I don't know. Maybe I'll do another Mario game next. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see whatever pops up next. I guess is what I do next. So that'll be good. All right. And I just wanted to look at the timer. Cool. Oh, and go to www.thegrowthput.net or click on the link in the description for the written review if you wanted to do that after, because you waited too long to do it before or instead of at this point if you're still listening. So that's on you.